Cape Town, South Africa. Man, there's so much I want to tell you about so much. But before we do that, make sure, if you've not already done so, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and let people know about this channel also. That's key. That's key. Let people know what we're talking about here, maximum impact travel, all of what we're doing. What my goal is, I'm bridging the gap between Africa and the African diaspora through a variety of vehicles. One, through travel, but then also through media content, because that way people have an opportunity to learn and put some things together. And what I'm finding is a lot of people do want to travel, and they just need someone to lead them there. And so that's what I'm doing. We're working on 10 different destinations throughout the continent of Africa. I'm currently in South Africa, just left Durban. And so now I am in Cape Town, and then I will be back in Joburg. And I'm telling you, I had a conversation. I'm going to share the conversation. I have to edit it and put it together. But I had a conversation with a 75-year-old white South African man. Very, very kind man. Really, really nice. But this is what I've been accused of. I've been accused. Someone watched me do an interview with someone, and I needed to get like the goods. If a matter of fact, let me know if you can hear me. Please in the chat just say I can hear you, because I know sometimes when I'm on my phone it acts a little weird, the audio gets a little funny. But just type in the chat, let me know you can hear me. So someone said to me one time, they watched me do an interview, and I was real patient with the interview. You know, sometimes great, excellent. Real patient with the interview. And when I say real patient, meaning that if I know that I'm trying to get somewhere, I listen. Like one of the skills in communicating is being able to listen. I watch people on the news and all of that, and of course they have a short time frame. They might have a 3.5 minute segment, and they need to get to the point, so they'll cut the person off while the person is talking. But what I've learned to do, now if I have to do that in a setting or something, if I'm interviewing and I only have like 5 minutes, then I'll cut in. But I've learned to let people get their thoughts out. And the other thing I've been accused of is giving people enough rope to hang themselves. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but that's kind of like what it is. You give people enough rope to, just dig their own hole. So I was having a conversation with this gentleman, and we were on a long ride. And so we, and I could tell that he thought I was different, meaning a lot of times, like I've had white South Africans coming to me, taking pictures with me in Durban. Oh, I noticed your accent. And so where are you from? I'm like, no, I didn't say, young, and I'm from DC. I'm the D. I said, hey, I'm from DC, blah, 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 blah. And so, oh, wow. I went there many years ago, and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. So I had that whole thing. I get it. I understand it happened in Egypt. It happened in Morocco. It happened, so I get it. But what I like to do is to listen to people's philosophy and listen to their mindset. I'm telling you, hang with me on this one, because this thing got deep. It got deep. It got so deep in conversation. And like I said, I'm going to share this, not tonight, because I have to put it together, and I don't want to disparage this man. He was just sharing. And I said, you know what? Let me give him an opportunity to just get it all out. And I waited, and he got it all out. And then it was time for me to get it out, So he told me, he said that he's 75. He came up during the whole apartheid, that whole time in South Africa. He's Dutch. That's what his, he's saying he's Afrikaans, I believe. So and he was explaining a lot of history about what it was like growing up in the school system. So I'm listening because I'm a student. I also learn sometimes you listen and you be quiet because you get those nuggets while you're listening. Now, what I like to do is process things. I'll listen, I'll process it, I'll research it. And even when my emotions come in or I feel something, I've learned to say, let me process this before I react. And that's what I hear. I see a lot on social media. I see it in the comments, from the videos or something. People react, but they don't really take the time to process what's being said or research it, or they'll just take the information that they've been taught and make that, they say, well, that's the facts, without even considering that maybe somebody's presenting another piece of information that might be contrary to what you've been taught, but perhaps what we were taught was incorrect. But a lot of people don't want to even consider that, because they believe that what they believe is right, and that's it, because somebody told it to them, and they don't even take the time to go deeper. I'm just at a phase of life where once I came to this continent and I understood that much of what I was taught in America was either biased, skewed, or flat out wrong, I've had to deconstruct many of those things that I've been taught. And now I'm rebuilding it. And the way that you rebuild it is you spend time in a place and you listen and you learn, and then you can formulate an opinion. So in listening to this man talk, the first thing that I could tell he was trying to do, because it's like sometimes you get this white guilt that people have, and they now want to speak favorably of who they feel, my heroes or somebody's heroes might be. So that's their guilt, like feeling like, well, I loved Mandela, and oh, he was a wonderful man, and he was this, that, and the other. And he just kept going on and on and on about Mandela. So, you give people enough time, they start, especially feeling guilty, they just start fessing up. He's like, but I didn't always feel that way. I said, do tell. So what happened? Well, you know, I'll tell you, I used to be racist. Oh, is that right? Really? So in my tone, I'm just, oh, really, really, really. But now I'm sizing up the situation. I'm like, oh, okay. Here's some rope. You want some rope? Here we go. Let's walk into this situation. And so he starts talking about during that time. He said, Jay, you have to understand that during that time, hey, what's happening? Uh, so he kept going, and he started talking about how during the education and all of these different things, what he was learning, and how his father was a racist, and all of that. And I said, well, is it racist or is it prejudiced? And he said, well, it was a little combination of both. I said, oh, okay, I'm just, just curious. And he said that, he was really raised that particular way. And then he said, but I had a black friend, and we were friends. We were really friends. And I couldn't understand, we were children, so it didn't really make sense. He said, but as I got older, that's when the prejudice and the racism really started settling in on me. And I would make different comments. I said, yeah, stuff like the N-word, stuff like that. Well, yeah, something like that. And he said, my black friend would remind me, he would do like this just to remind me that was not okay. So now he was getting real comfortable with this thing. And I said, oh, I got him. I said, I got him. But I'm just riding it out. I said, this is gold. So he keeps telling me, and then he kind of vacillated. I think the guilt kicked in, and then he wanted to, try to backtrack a little bit, because I kept saying, so tell me a little bit about some of the racist things you would do. Well, so he thought about it, and he snapped back into, that kind of like denial thing. But then I think he really started getting comfortable. And he said to me, I said, well, what do you think some of the problems are? And he said, I'm going to say something to you, and you might not like it, but I'm going to say it. I said, oh, please, go ahead and say it. He said, I think the problems with the black South Africans are the black Americans. I said, really? What makes you say that? Again, I'm just walking with him. Now, a lot of people I know back in the States would be like, nah, man, what you mean? What you talking about? How you gonna blame us for something? No, I'm just listening. He said, because the black Americans will come over here and they will tell the black South Africans that they need to be demanding something. They need to be paid back for things that they haven't even worked for. And that particular mindset is not productive. So I'm listening. I said, okay, I hear what he's saying. So I'm letting him get it all out, because as he's getting it out, he's sharing his philosophy, he's sharing his training, he's sharing all of these different things. And I'm remaining neutral as far as from an emotional standpoint. I'm remaining neutral, because the best way to disarm someone is to start asking them questions that cause them to think, open-ended questions that cause them to process out loud. I could have come at him and been like, man, what are you talking about? You know, we went through the same things. It's the same stuff that was going on in America, same stuff going on over here. And yeah, so we working together and we're gonna turn this mother out. That's no, I could have gone that route. I could have went down that road. But I was like, no, I need to understand this mentality, because not only do I see this mentality in, hey, what's going on? Hey, now I'm from the UK. What's going on? Not only do I hear some of what I'm about to share with you from him, but I also hear it from us. And that's when I was like, wait a minute. So anyway, he kept going and talking about how he felt the Black Americans were influencing the South Africans, and that was causing problems. And now the South Africans were believing as though they should get something for doing nothing. And he started sharing how he built his business from, just kind of like this pull yourself up from your own bootstraps philosophy. So I was like, whoa, this sounds a little familiar here. It's taking me, even though I wasn't around in the 60s, I said, but this feels a little familiar. So he was like, I worked and I built my business. And now for me to be in a place and for someone to come to me and say that I should give them something for doing nothing, I have a problem with that. Now, on the surface, okay, I get that on the surface. But I started listening and I started asking a question. I said, well, what about the people who had to get the work permits in South Africa, and the people who couldn't come into Durban and they had to go sit naked outside of that building and they had to do those different things? And then when they finally got work, they weren't adequately compensated for the work. And then the people who were making all of the money off of their labor, this, uh, uh, oh, okay. I see you, Eddie. I said, I said, don't you think that they maybe should be compensated something for the prejudice and the different things that were taken from them? Don't you think? And he stopped and he thought about it. He was like, well, I guess so. But I don't understand this mentality of where someone who's unqualified feels as though they should come and get money for something that they're not qualified for. He says it's the blacks who get, and he's just letting it go. It's the blacks who get the contracts, but they're not qualified. And now they get these contracts and the project doesn't finish because they gave the money to someone just because of the skin color. So I'm listening as a business person. I'm saying, okay, you do want somebody who's qualified. You do. I get that. But then I'm thinking on my other side, I'm like, well, how do we get the qualified people if you have all of these systems in place? And this is what I said to him. I said, so where do the qualified people come from? If you take people out of their natural system, you impose a system on them, then you don't properly train them in this new system, how do they ever rise? What happens at that point? And he stopped and he thought about it. He said, you're right. He said, and he's an educator. He said he was an educator. He said, the key to this is education, education, education. And I'm going to play this video for y'all. I'm telling y'all, when y'all hear, I'm going to let his own words hit. So it's not me saying it. It'll be his own words. I said, yeah. I said, but what kind of education? And that's when he stopped again. Because you told me education. Okay, what was it? Science, technology, engineering, math? I said, yeah. I said, I know a whole bunch of people have PhDs, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, but yet they still are clueless about the system that they're in. And so when one industry shuts down, they're figuring that their degree is going to go take them to the next system, and now their degree is obsolete. Now they have to go back to school, come up with this money, try to figure it out. I said, so which education are we talking about here? Are we talking about real world education? We're talking about a combination of formal education with this new system that people have been put in. How do we, I'm trying to figure this out, because what's the solution? What is the solution here? Because I hear what you're saying. And so he didn't really have a solution other than education, education, education. That's all he knew. But I understood that this is how he's been trained for 75 years. This is the only thing he really understands. in his culture, 9 times out of 10, nobody was going to challenge his thought process in a way that really kind of got to the core of what he was thinking. So then, um, oh yeah, I'm about to go there. I'm about to go there. I'm about to go there. Yeah, I'm about to go there. So then he says, we go. I'm just giving y'all pieces of this. I'm telling you, this is why I love to travel, because you don't get this in anybody's textbook. And when you have this firsthand experience, you're sitting there like, oh, this is good. So he says to me, he said, you know the other problem? He said the African is lazy. I said, really? Explain. I work. I had a business, and I went on the job. No, I was working on a job, and the Africans would come there, and they would do nothing, and they would expect to get paid. Now, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, now this really sounds familiar, because in America, I've seen some things too. So I'm having to be honest with myself. Yeah, he said it. He said it. So now I'm having to be honest with myself about some things, because when he said it, I'm listening, and I'm saying this is the same thing that I've heard in America too. And some of this, if I'm being honest with myself, some of it I've seen. Some of it I've seen in America, where you got folks on a job and they're just moping around, not trying to work, and just, I'm just trying to collect my check. I'm just trying to do my thing. So I'm thinking, I said, okay, some of what he's saying isn't wrong here. Some of what it is. But I let him get it out. He said, he said, you know what they need to do? Now, this is where he's exposing his monolithic thinking, because he's lumping all Africans together in one box and saying all Africans are lazy. He's saying all Africans are lazy. And you know what they need to do? They need to go to Asia. They need to go to China and watch how the Chinese work, because the Chinese have a work ethic that doesn't stop. They need to go to Europe and they need to see how they do it, and then bring it back here. I said, So I let him get it all out. I said, but you know what? I said, I hear what you're saying. And I said, some of what you're saying I do understand, because I've had staff. I know some of that mentality. Now, this is me just being straight up honest with him. I said, but on the flip side, I said, when I go to different parts of Africa and I see those people working from sun up to sundown, I said, those people aren't lazy. I said, they just don't have access to the capital. I said, as a matter of fact, those people who built Europe, who built Africa, who built America, those Africans who built these places that we idolize, they weren't lazy. I said, those people, I look at those cobblestone streets in America, and I know who laid those bricks. Those weren't lazy Africans who were doing that. I said, I come here to Africa and I look and I go around and I could just go see different communities and see people working all day. And he stopped dead in his tracks. He said, you know what? You are right. He said, you're right. And now, you know how sometimes it is when people get to a certain point in life that you can't teach them anything. But he said, you're right. He said, you're right. I said, so now, if we take this and understand that there have been systems in place that have created mindsets and created behaviors intentionally by certain people, and I'm even listening to him and listening to his mindset and how he's thinking, and I'm saying, well, he's a product of the same ignorance that many other people are a product of. He's going through this, and he doesn't realize that he's expressing a white supremacy mindset. He doesn't understand it until we have another piece of the conversation. And so we're talking, and he said, you know what the problem is? I said, well, what's the problem? Please finish telling me what the problem is. He said, the poverty in Africa is because the people keep having babies, and the blacks keep having these babies. Oh, really? Yeah. Yes, if they stop having these babies, then the poverty would go away. I said, interesting. I said, well, let's look at it like this. I said, because what were the blacks doing? I'm going with this. I said, what were the blacks doing before your ancestors came here, before your Dutch ancestors came here? What were they doing? They were minding their business. They were going through their ethnic, whatever they were doing, they were doing. I said, so what if in their culture, because in Africa, you have everything you need, meaning you can grow, you can have 10. Hey, what's up, Leslie? Yeah, it was, keeps. So you can have 10 acres of land, you can grow your food, you can get your cattle, you can get your chickens, you can get your sheep, your goat, anything you need, and do your thing. Talk to the Maasai. They'll tell you if you can see them, and all of the different ethnic groups when they have their cattle. I went to the Gambia and saw so many sheep. I was like, wow. I said, somebody was like, well, that's goats. I said, no, those are sheep. So I'm thinking to myself, and I'm telling him, and I'm sharing with him, I said, well, what if the indigenous people didn't have the constraints that we have, and they could go and have as many children as they wanted to because they had the resources to provide and take care of those children based upon where they lived in the world. They could grow their food year round. They could raise if they want to do meat, they had the meat, whatever they wanted to do, they could do it. And I said, the problem doesn't come in until the Dutch and the British and the French and the Portuguese and the Spanish and Italians and the Germans all come in upon their land and change their system. And so now, for people who are used to being able to procreate and have children, as many children as they want, now they're forced to be in an economic system that puts constraints on their ability to provide for themselves freely. So now that becomes poverty. And now that becomes a problem. And now they need to stop having children, but their indigenous natural way of doing things is to multiply because they had plenty of resources to be able to do it. He now stops and he was like, wow. He said, all we have done is impose ourselves on people. This is what he's 75 years old. I didn't slice him up. Now I'm gonna let y'all hear it. Not tonight, because I gotta edit it and all of that. But he said, wow. He said, then he told me a story. He said, I remember when I was working at this, I guess it was a restaurant or something. And he said, I was preparing the tables. And so we put forks and knives at all of the other tables. And then there was another set of tables that we didn't put forks and knives at. And he said, I was upset because I was trying to figure out why they didn't put forks and knives there. And then he said, one of the other managers came to him and said, no, don't put forks and knives there. He said, that's going to be where the Africans sit and they eat with their hands. And he said, I realized at that point that we were trying to impose our culture and our systems on these people. They eat with their hands. We eat with forks and knives. And so when he said, so this is him coming to the realization of some things, because when he would say something, I would let him get it out. He'd get it all out, but then I come back and say, hey, but what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And so I kept poking and saying to him, how do the people rise if you put them in an education system that doesn't truly educate them? If you put them in a banking system that is designed to give them predatory loans to keep them out of being able to get to the real resources, how do they rise? If anything, what's going to happen is it will always tell them that they need to be changing and modifying to be able to fit into your system. And I said the most interesting part about this is when the people begin to believe this, when the people begin to say, you know what, I need to modify, I need to change, I need to do this in order to fit into this system. And as a matter of fact, let me throw away all of my culture, my heritage. As a matter of fact, that's primitive. That's not civilized. That's this, that, and the other. And so now, for a lot of people in Africa, and this is the thing as I traveled around Africa, this is one thing I love about coming to South Africa. What I love about coming to South Africa is the indigenous thing. It's like this thing when you're here and someone tells you their name and their name is their name, and I can't pronounce the name or anything like that, and they're not trying to change it in order for me to feel comfortable. It's their name is their name, and it's like, wow, and I now need to modify and figure out how to pronounce their name because that's their name. See, that's why, like in different parts of Africa, I'll go to and they'll tell me, either their Christian name or their European name, and I say, no, 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 what's your name? And they look at me, my name is such and such. No, 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 no. And I give them a look. They're like, oh, you mean my either local name or whatever? Yeah, that's the name I want to know. And so, um, so when that happens, it's like, yeah, I want to know that name. And so that's what happened yesterday. Brother, he was his name is his name. His name was like I told him, I said, look, I don't even have. I can't even come to like I mean, I can now because I've had, been given different names. But I said, like on my birth certificate, my name is my name. And that's what it is. And my name is straight British. British. That's my name. You don't get much more British than J. I mean, that's what it is. And so I'm saying you have a name that's indigenous, it's cultural. It hasn't been tarnished by someone's imposing their their culture on people that say you have that, and that's what I admire. And I'm not envious or anything like that. I mean, because I recognize this is my journey. So I'm not like, oh man, I wish I had you. It's like, wow, man, this is really cool just to be able to, you know, for someone to have been given an indigenous name and know the meaning of it. And that's where the conversation goes. So tell, what's your name? And they'll tell me, I said, well, what does it mean? And then we'll go down that road. And it's no longer like when we were children, we would make fun of names and stuff like that if it sounded African because we were so simple. We were so simple because our parents were simple, and they would run from their African history and heritage and all of that. So they would put that on us. And then, like I said in previously, we would go to churches that had African Methodist Episcopal Zion and African Methodist Episcopal, but wasn't nobody trying to go to Africa. But we said we the AME and we the AME Zion. And I'm like, Negro, please, if you ain't doing nothing over in Africa, and please don't be peddling this colonized gospel over there. If you're not going over there trying to learn your culture and your history and your heritage from that, it's just some American BS that's flowing through. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. I can go down that road tonight. I ain't gonna go down that road. I might though. So I'm sitting there and as I'm going through different parts of Africa, and I'm watching the remnants of the indigenous cultures that have held on through the Leslie, you wrong. I'm probably wrong too. Uh, so I'm looking at these remnants of indigenous culture all across the continent. This is why I'm telling you, when I'm in Kenya and I'm able to be, and I'm in Kenya and Tanzania, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Nigeria, here in South Africa, and I'm looking, and as much as they try to destroy the cultures, they couldn't. As much as they did with the mind games, the trickery, even using trying to trick people against themselves and all of that. And I know there's ethnic stuff. I know all of that. I know everybody's not sitting over here kumbaya. I know it. I know the political stuff that happens when one ethnic group gets in power and how they try to keep power, like lights and all of that type of stuff away from other ethnic groups. I'm not talking about that, because even some of that stuff is as a result of this mindset that this old white South African man was expressing, because that's a system. He was raised in that. He was taught in that. But when I see people still push through, and even because most of us don't even realize what's happened to us. That's the reality. Most of us don't even understand it. And I can definitely speak for those of us in America. We are clueless about what really happened to us. We thinking it's one thing, but this thing is so much bigger. It's so much broader. It's so much bigger than America. That's why when people say, come on back to America, I'm like, yo, for real, if you want to really understand what happened, just spend a little bit of time. Just spend a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time on the continent and in the right places and with the right mindset. If you spend a little bit of time, that will be um, that's where the education will begin. And that's why they don't want us to come, because then when we come, we start figuring out, oh, you all been working a mind game like long before America. America's what, a couple hundred years, 250 some odd years old. Long before America, they've been working this mind. Chattel slavery has been happening over 500 years. That's why I don't even say 400 years anymore, because 400 years is just referring to America. But when you go to the depths of it and you understand when the Catholic Church said, okay, go start the European chattel slavery in West Africa, King Alfonso V, Pope Nicholas V, boom, you can go. And that whole thing started when you start getting into the history of how the Portuguese pretty much had their hand in West Africa and East Africa. You can see their structures all around. Well, who built this? The Portuguese. Well, what? The Portuguese? What? How did the Portuguese get into this? I thought it was the British. Well, the British came to the party later, and the British were dominating, and the British and the French. Oh yeah, definitely can't forget the Arab slave trade. Definitely can't forget that. Definitely can't forget it. Because that was even happening, 700 plus years prior to the European slave trade, and the forced castrations, the forced hysterectomies, the brutality of the Arab slave trade, tip in East Africa, and what was going on there. What's still happening today when you have West African women, Filipino women, Ethiopian women going to some of these Arab countries and having to give up their passports. The same mentality has been passed down in those particular countries to where they don't see any value in I hate to use the term sub-Saharan, but darker skinned African people in these in these particular Arab countries. And then when you begin to look at what's happening with West African men, and when they're trying to go into Europe because they're trying to escape the poverty or the lack of opportunities or perceived lack of opportunities in their native countries, a lot of them, as they try to go into Europe, they then get caught up in Libya and Northern Africa, and they get back on the slave trade again. People think slavery's over. Chattel slavery has not gone anywhere. I just want you to know, chattel slavery has not gone anywhere. Now, it's now become the form, it has different forms also, meaning human trafficking, child labor slavery, and these are things that, of course, people don't want to talk about because they want to act as though it doesn't exist. Now, because I saw in the comments where somebody had mentioned the someone had mentioned, the Arab slave trade. And even when I did the whole conversation talking about, I don't know how can a black person still be Catholic after learning the truth about the Catholic Church? But it's even better. But then the question even goes deeper than that. Someone said, well, how can someone be Muslim after they learn the truth about what the Arabs were doing and how they were using Islam to be able to manipulate and control and do all of those different things? So that's a legitimate question. How can someone still do something after learning the truth about it? How can someone justify? And this is where it gets tough for like Black Americans. You go to the dungeons in Ghana, you go to Goree Island, you go to Togo, you go over to East Africa, and so how can someone? And this is the question I often had, especially when I talked about Black Americans, and they would go to these dungeons and they would see the Anglican Church. Now I'm moving away from the Catholic Church. Now I'm going into the Protestant Church, and they would see these. Churches always in the middle of hell. I don't know what other word to say. What was going on up in them dungeons and the abuses that were taking place, we'll never have a video camera for it. You didn't have somebody with a secret tape capturing it. There was very little accountability. They played by their own rules. And so what ends up happening, all of this stuff was going on. And in the middle of that, you had these religious institutions that were demonizing the indigenous population, whatever their belief systems were. Those were being demonized. They were being told that their stuff was wrong. They were being told that their hair and their eyes and their skin and their nose and their lips and everything else was wrong. They were being mocked. They were being treated differently based upon skin complexion and colorism and all this other kind of stuff that was going on. So all of this is happening, and in the center of it all was a religious institution. in the center of it all, somehow these people were told that this is God's thing, and you better not question it. And if you question it, you're going to hell. You're going to get some kind of curse put on you. And now that I understand better, I said that's one of the worst forms of witchcraft that was happening. But much of what we do and how we think came from that influence. Even how we treat one another in these particular religious settings, even these systems, even these different systems that were created, you begin to understand the foundational elements of it. And so I would often wonder how, because that was the thing that hit me when I went to that dungeon in Ghana and I saw that church in the middle of El Mina. I said, hold on. I said, oh, wait a minute, something ain't right. Something not right. Then I went over to Cape Coast and I saw the church over time. I said, well, what's going on here? Why we always gotta? Then I go out to Fort Jesus out there in Kenya, and I'm saying, why is a church in the middle of this? And then I go to different other forts in the house in the Portuguese Museum in Togo. It's either Togo or Benin. And in the middle of that, there's a church in the middle. I said, there's something up with this. I said, there's something up. But what I hear a lot of Black Americans do is they just dismiss it. They gaslight themselves because we don't know. What we do is we take what someone told us. Well, Bishop so and so started this, and he did such and such and such and such, and Bishop so and so he found this because they didn't want to allow him to worship with them, and he didn't want them to do such and such. So then I'm thinking to myself, now this comes back around to the 75-year-old man, okay, the 75-year-old white South African man. So I'm thinking to myself, I said, now the reality is that this stuff was birthed out of rejection, of not being accepted. I go down to Salvador in Brazil, not El Salvador in Central America, but Salvador in the state of Bahia in Brazil. And I'm looking and I see all these Black Catholic bishops. And I'm like, how did this happen? How did this go? So I went to this one place that was like a shrine. And it was like a Yoruba. It was a Yoruba. Now, how Yoruba in Brazil? How did Yoruba get in Brazil? Wait a minute, what's going on? So you went into the shrine, and I looked, and I'm saying, now this looks a little weird to me. I said, well, now I see like indigenous Yoruba, but then why they got the Mary and the white Jesus and everything? Oh, why is that all up in here, all blended in together? And why is all that going on? He said, well, what happened is that they were forced to worship the white Jesus and the Mary. And so they had to find a way to keep what the Yoruba practices were connected. They had to figure out a way to do it. So they would do it in secret. And so that's why you would see that. I was like, interesting. Then I went to Benin and I went to the voodoo forest. Oh Lord, when you went to the voodoo forest? Yep, I went right up in the voodoo forest. I sure did. And when I went up in the voodoo forest, you step up in the voodoo forest, and the first thing you see is the fertility god. And it would make every man in the world just feel shame. He just said, he just feels shame. So we're walking through the voodoo forest, and they said, the dude said, yeah, right over there, that little hut over there, there's a spirit. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I ain't gonna bother it. It won't bother me. Don't start none, won't be none. We ain't got no problem. You stay over there, I'm gonna stay over here. So I look over, glance, I saw some little thing in there. I said, okay. It wasn't moving, it wasn't like a spirit. I don't know what it was. Let me say that. So we're walking around, and this is where it hit. Y'all know I'm going somewhere with this. We walk up to this statue, and I am working on that documentary because I got the footage of it. We walk up to this statue, and I look, and he said, yes, this statue is of a Catholic priest and a voodoo god. I said, wait a minute. And this was a, what you talking about, Willis? Moment. And so he explained how the voodoo and the Catholics, they would blend together and they would accept certain things. So I'm saying, okay, this is not what they tell us on Sunday school. They don't tell us this on Sunday school. When I went to Sunday school, all we knew was white Jesus. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, now this stuff is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, because some things are not even being hidden, meaning some stuff is in plain sight. You just got to go to the places and you begin to see it. And this is the stuff that you begin to see. That's why I went down to Whitney Plantation in Louisiana, because it's like I see different things. That's why if you look at my video, Sister Pat's Underground Tour down in Savannah, and how all the different things that are there in Savannah, just like right there. But we won't see it because, one, it's not emphasized, because guess what? That same 75-year-old white South African mentality of our way is the right way. We want you to get educated. We're going to erase your culture. We're going to make sure you really don't understand who and where where you're coming from and how this stuff comes. We're going to erase all of this stuff and have you thinking like us. We're going to put our education standard above. We're going to even start your schools and then put our names on your schools. You're going to now take pride in the names on our names on your schools, our names on your back, because we're going to do all we can to erase who you are. Now, that's the African American. Now, I will say this. There are parts of Africa where that thing happened. It might be worse than the African, because I tell people all the time, and I'm honest with myself again. I can sit here and because this is what happens. We get so defensive and so sensitive, and because of that, we don't do the work and fix ourselves the way we need to, because the first thing we do is go on defense. So it's like if I say something, because I've had people, if I say something about African Americans, I am one, okay? I am one. So if I say something about it, the first thing they want to do is come back and defend. I'm like, Negro, please just listen to what's being said so we can fix this stuff and get our minds right instead of defending. We know we great people and all this other kind of stuff. But let's figure out how deep this stuff goes so we can get this stuff out of our system and stop trying to, just listen. And that's what I talked about earlier, the art of listening and getting it done. So when it comes to being stripped down, when it comes to African Americans, most of us have been stripped down to the point of, from an African identity cultural perspective, that we don't even connect with anything in Africa. Unlike many people in Brazil or in Bahia in particular, they have preserved the Yoruba culture. They have an Angolan society. So it's like they're not taking the DNA test like how we're doing in America, trying to figure things out. I'm there. I said, well, you know where y'all come from in Africa? Yeah, Angola, Nigeria. They take you straight up. You go there and you have the different statues of the Yoruba deities. And I said, wow. I said, this is in South America. This is in Brazil. And you'll see it in different parts of the Caribbean and other parts. You go different places and you say, wait a minute, now hold on. We don't know anything about like this in America unless you go to the remote places like the Oyotunji Yoruba village in South Carolina. When I posted that video, most people said, we didn't even know that thing existed. I think it's an Igbo village somewhere in Georgia. It's some other villages, different places, I think in Staunton, Virginia. But we don't know about it. But guess what? We know about Auschwitz. And we know about Christopher Columbus, and we know about George Washington, and we know about the 4th of July, and we know how to sing the Star Spangled Banner, and we know how to do the Pledge of Allegiance. But when it comes to those types of indigenous things, where much of our DNA comes from, oh no, we don't know anything about that, because that's not placed in our curriculums. It's not placed in those very systems, and I can't speak for every system, but a lot of systems, those very religious systems that were supposed to be instructing us in holding and preserving onto the culture and the heritage, many of those systems became whitewashed. And so they had the white Jesus sitting up in there. We saw the little dude on the fan, and he's sitting up there between that fan and the Martin Luther King fan. You had the little white Jesus fan, you had the little white Jesus sitting up there in the paint, in the stained glass. And so we were harassed and told that we need to go do this, or else this was going to happen to us. And so with those places that were supposed to preserve that indigenous culture, we lost. So I want my African brothers and sisters to really understand what happened to most African Americans. And this is why so many of us don't connect, because psychologically, from an education standpoint, from a religious standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, we have no real connection to Africa. Meaning, because other than calling us African American, other than having Black History Month, but even when it comes to Black History Month, it's not African Black History Month. It's the same people we talking about same people every time. Well, we need to understand Black history. You don't understand Black history if you take Africa out of it. You really don't understand it, because it's only American Black history. But then when you start understanding those people, the fight of the people down in Haiti and what they went through, and in Jamaica and what they went through, and how you had resistance movements every single place that these so-called, as the white 75-year-old white South African man said, these people were lazy. Oh, no, no, no. When I now go back and I'm starting to learn more and more, I go down to Bahia. They have a statue in Brazil of the man who was leading the revolts, and he ran up into the mountains and fighting and all of these different things. Then I think about the people who were fighting down in Louisiana and the people who were on the plantations fighting in America. But then I think about the people who were fighting in Africa. And so you realize that you had all of these different resistance movements all across the world. But because they tell us that we're not connected. And then you got this little silly movement over here in America now trying to tell all the people that they don't come from Africa, and the slave trade didn't exist and all this other kind of stuff. And people are silly enough to listen to that because their minds have been so messed up, because they don't even know. They first of all, they hadn't even stepped foot in Africa. All you have to do is go take your behind to Nigeria, and you will see all of your family. You will say, well, dang, all of my family's over here in Nigeria. All you got to do is walk around and be like, wait a minute now. Go up to one of them reservations. Go on up in Nebraska or wherever and see how much of that you see. Go over that. Go to one of them reservations and see how many. You go to Nigeria and you just walk around. You're like, what in the world? I took a picture of one person and sent it to my cousin who the person looked just like. And this was a light-skinned person. You see the same ethnic mix. You see the same. You go to Nigeria, you're like, no, wait a minute now. Now, why they didn't? Now, wait a minute. Hold on. What's happening here? You see the same hair texture. You wonder where so-and-so get them lips from? Going over to Nigeria. Where so-and-so, where she get that butt from? Going over to Nigeria. We come to South Africa too. You can see, I'm saying to myself, they told us they don't want us to know, but it's our responsibility, especially for those of us who have enough ability to be able to stop and say, no. You playing games. Y'all been playing games. They partially educate us and send us out into the world. And they send us to school for 12 years. Do give us just enough education. And some of us who go beyond that, we excel. But give us just enough education to keep propping up the system. They don't even explain the system to us. They don't even teach us how capitalism works. And capitalism isn't just about money. That's the core element of it. But it's about mindsets. It's about systemic structures. It's about population control. Because guess what? His mentality, the 75-year-old white South African man, his mindset revealed, hey, we need to stop y'all from having all these babies because that's causing the poverty. Without him stopping long enough to say, wait a minute, could we be creating the poverty? Then I hit him with the whammy. I said, look, if these countries that Africa, the continent, props up, paid Africa as a whole what they owe them, then Africa could have as many children as it wants. Everybody in Africa, there'd be so much money that the people could have 400 kids, and all the kids would be taken care of if you left their land alone and let them do like the Maasai and the cattle and the guy with the sheep in Zambia. You leave them alone. Leave these people alone. One, they would outpopulate you. They would dominate you on so many different levels. And you would find out who was really strong. You would find out but because you have a gun and a bomb, which is brilliant. I'll say this much. Their strategy is brilliant. It's brilliant. Because really, it's like I can disarm a whole bunch of people just by getting into their minds. And if I can do that, then after a while, I won't need a gun and a bomb because they'll turn the gun and bombs on themselves. And that's when you begin to start seeing a lot of the cultural issues. This is what, and this is why you see me coming here on this channel and sharing what I'm sharing. And this is why this doesn't just resonate with black people and African people. It resonates with even white people because this ain't what I didn't know that either, man. I thought this, and they're checking themselves to realize, well, for real, I might be a white supremacist and not necessarily a racist that hates other ethnic groups. Maybe not that particular, it's not necessarily that deep, but they might be like, yeah, well, our way is the right way. As a matter of fact, what's proper is this. You put your fork, and proper etiquette is you put your fork here and you put your knife here and you sip your tea with your pinky in the air, and you only put 2 scoops of sugar in, and you sit back and you put on your tie, and you sit up straight, and this is proper etiquette. This is how you need to do it. And if you're going to speak proper English, you need to speak like this. But what if they're not English? What if in their culture, proper is you sit down, you eat with your right hand, not with your left. And this is how you do it, and this is proper. And perhaps eating with a fork and knife in their culture is improper. And perhaps, and I mean, it even goes down on the religious level. Like some religions, they say you can do one particular thing, and another religion say you can do something different. But for us, we pick up and say, well, somebody told us from this to this to this. We just believe it. Just because we believe it doesn't mean that it's automatically true. Just because we believe it in our mind, because somebody else believes something in their mind. So how can we, where does this attitude of superiority come in to say that just because I believe it is right? And so if you live long enough, and if you travel and you see enough things and you listen, and if you just go with a critical eye, you begin to start putting pieces of the puzzle together. And so someone was saying, hey, Jay, why don't you do that? I'm working on all of it. Just know I'm just talking now. And I think part of me talking about it helps to pull it all together because it's like information overload. It's like 3.5 years of information overload and stuff that people wouldn't even believe. I mean, it's like, and that's why I always have my phone. I always have my phone with me because I'm always taking video. And somebody, you dangerous with that phone. I'm like, well, hey, I got to capture it because people aren't just gonna believe me because I say it. I want to be able to have the proof so that when this stuff comes out, then they can see it with their own eyes. And then at that point, if they want to gaslight themselves, then that's on them. Maybe sometimes it just needs to be dropped in there, and then they'll come back to it later. But what I'm also realizing is that people ask questions internally, but they're afraid to ask them publicly. They're afraid they dare not question the pastor. They dare not question the bishop. They dare not question the system. And so, I can't even tell you how many people probably unsubscribed from me, unfollowed me because I went down this particular road. But my thing is this, either you want the truth or you don't. And so if you want to keep, believe in certain things without questioning, without even going and challenging it, then that's on you. But that's how we've been trained, though, because that's what a lot of times what these different systems do. You don't question that, because if you do that, then it's like you're questioning God. But then you stop and you say to yourself, but God gave me a brain to question. If I'm not supposed to question, then why would he give me a brain? Or, why would I have a brain to even think? I just take what somebody tells me because they have on a robe and a funny looking hat and try to sound all deep. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Or am I supposed to really study to show myself approved? I mean, I just got, it's like they tell us, study to show yourself approved. Then you go study to show yourself approved and you start checking them. Then they start getting all nervous and start squealing, get acting all funny. When people who just use the God-given brain they've been given, they start asking questions. I said this in another talk. This is nothing I see worldwide. And this might make some people uncomfortable, but hey, it is what it is. Why is it that why is poverty and religion right there side by side? I'll just use Black America because that's what I know, y'all. I know it. And like I said before, I spent more than 25 years in the church world. So I gotta I could tell y'all some other stories. But why is it that the Black communities in America, why, my thing is this, why are we still giving out turkeys and bags of groceries and we don't have an overemphasis of teaching people how to go fish and do all these different things. Why are the churches in America still begging the government for resources? That's the thing. My mind is like, well, why is the church begging the people for the resources? I mean, begging the government for the resources. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with giving a turkey and a bag of groceries and stuff like that. But after 30 years of giving out turkeys and bags of groceries, at some point, when can we now take that same emphasis and take the stuff that we're teaching Sunday after Sunday or Saturday after Saturday, Wednesday after Wednesday? When does this stuff manifest into the prosperity that we're telling people to have hope for all of these years? Generations of this same type of conversation happening, new churches popping up. If I see another Negro with another church popping up somewhere, I'm gonna smack that joke upside the head. Like, dude, okay, so what you gonna do now? What you gonna do? Well, we gonna have a high time of the Lord. We gonna be in the dance. We gonna be whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, we gonna be the dude. I said, why don't you just open a club? Just open a club. Just open the club. Why? What are you gonna do? How are you going to confront this stuff and really break this thing down? What are you going to do that's going to be any different than another shuck and jive show that's out here and you go sweat, talk for a couple hours and then ask for some money. People give it to you, then you go out here and buy your little car and all that and got the people looking, oh man, I want to be like you. I want to be like you, instead of really empowering the people, giving them some practical advice, walking them down this road so they can understand the systems that they are. See, you're wrong, Leslie. So they can understand the systems that they're in. How do you go and show people economically, since you got that Bible, how you gonna walk the people down in the Bible and show them in the scriptures exactly how they're supposed to be positioning themselves outside of asking them and hounding them to give you 10% of their money? What are you gonna do differently? And that's the stuff, and that mess is happening in Africa. They'll go right over into these villages. You got a church in every village, you got a church on every corner, and they're going to extract the very little that the people already have. And they'll take them, because many of the people are not, when I say literate, meaning in that particular system, so they're already now taking a colonized interpretation and now sitting there and teaching the people from the King's English, and maybe that's not indigenous to the people. So the people really don't know what is being said, but they're trusting because they're looking at their circumstances. They're hungry. They need food. So now the people become codependent on the church for them to be able to think. The little bishop running around, little pastor running around, he figured, oh, this easy money. I can do this thing. Man, these people ain't going to question me because we got them programmed. Now all I got to do is plug into the system. They're already programmed not to question. They're already programmed to fear that if they don't do what I say, some sort of curse is going to come upon them. So now here we are. Cycle after cycle, year after year, the people don't really get empowered. The people really, at this point, they gaslight themselves. And when I say that, meaning they see what they see, but they're afraid to say anything, so they kind of shut it down instead of saying, look, I've been sitting up in your church for 15 years. You've been telling me to pray. You've been telling me to fast. You've been telling me to just listen without questioning. But what you have not done is given me the practical steps to be able to apply practical knowledge so that I can see the manifestation of whatever it is that you're telling me that I should have faith in. You're just telling me to trust, but then you're not giving me the tools to be able to do it. You're giving me some kind of double talk and you're trying to tell me some kind of way, but when I ask you questions, now you want to blackball me. Now you want to run me away. Now you don't want me to be around. Now you got to figure out some kind of way to smooth it over. Or avoid it. My point in this, when I talk about the 75-year-old white South African man who said that the people were lazy, the Africans, the blacks were lazy, and the people were, they're the cause of the poverty and all of that. The only way that any of this changes, I agree with him on one thing: education, education, education. But while you're getting the formal education, understand historical world education. I'll never forget when I was talking about, I did an interview with Brittany in Africa. And I was talking about the British and how the British never left. In particular, I was talking about Kenya in particular, because that's where we were doing the interview. And I was explaining it from a broader global perspective. And this is why the education is so important. So I had a whole bunch of people come for me, to say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know our history. You don't know what. Going back over to America and all this, that, and the other. And I said, hush, because I'm not talking about on a local level. I'm talking about on a global level. And I even challenged them. I said, take your behind up out of Kenya and go travel the world and go walk the footsteps that I've walked. And then you will go see exactly what I'm talking about. What I've seen from a global perspective is a recurring theme everywhere I've been in Anglophone countries, meaning English-speaking countries, is something consistent with what the British set up and what the British did. And what the British did is still in place to this day. You might not see them. They might not be sitting up there in the courtrooms other than with them white wigs that them black judges and all them got on. That's how they tell you they're still there. But a person who gaslights themselves will say, oh, that's not a big deal. Oh, the British Commonwealth is not a big deal. Oh, you're talking about the big boogeyman in the room. What do you mean? You're paranoid. What do you mean? We're going to be, we have to be diplomatic. We have to be these different things. You don't know what you're talking about. I was saying, well, take your behind take your behind and go travel around, and you begin to see a recurring theme. And when you understand how they think, and that's what the 75-year-old white South African man did, explained how they thought. Explained it. He didn't even realize what he was doing. His own white supremacy was coming out as he was still trying to praise Nelson Mandela, as he was still trying to praise Barack Obama and Martin Luther King. He was going down the road. He was thinking, that's what I want to do. And Oliver Tambo, and he was trying, but it was embedded in him to the point where it had to come out. It was like it's like he was waiting to be able to tell a black person all of his frustrations. But still, at the same time, come back and say, well, Mandela was great. And that's what you find with a lot of white people in America of that age. Man, we're so glad. And they might have even gone out and voted for Obama. They might have, who knows? They might have voted for Jesse. When Jesse was run, Jesse run. They might have voted, who knows? But when you get to the core, and that's what I'm talking about, when you get to the core of it, that stuff oozes out. And my thing is, cool, you ooze it out. I just want my folks to not be oozing it out. Because that's where the real thing is. As long as we ooze it out, it's on autopilot for them. They don't have to do anything. They can come to these countries and build because we won't put up any resistance. Because subconsciously we already believe that they are better. As much as we say Black Lives Matter, as much as we say we are this and that and the other, and then upward hope, downward dope, as much as we say all these different things, it is when our actions line up and we say, oh, okay, now I understand the game. Oh. Then you replay the different things that you've been taught as a child. Why do we tease each other and call each other, hey, you got nappy hair, you got kitchen naps on your head, and look at you, man, and man, look at you dark as a... Where'd all that programming come from? Where'd that come from? And why would we repeat it and not even realizing it? Why are we walking around? Somebody said to me, this is funny. I said, why are we walking around with umbrellas in the middle of summertime? Somebody said this to me the other day. Well, I think they might have been trying to not get skin cancer. I said, first of all, back in the 80s, the 70s and 80s, people, the brown people, melanated people didn't even know. That wasn't, no. They didn't want to get dark. They didn't want to get dark. My own great-great-grandmother, Ella was her name. My own great-great-grandmother was someone who had an extreme colorism issue. I know she had at least 3 children intentionally with, and she was mulatto or mixed, but she intentionally did not have children with an African man. So if you saw my great grand, so she had one with the traveling salesman, and I don't know what she got him when she got around. She sure did. Now, you can't say that. Now you ain't supposed to say that. You supposed to hush your mouth. You don't talk about nothing like that. No, we got to talk about something like that because how she treated her own descendants based upon skin complexion. Where did that come from? Where did Ella Kitchens get that mentality from? The way she was intentionally having children with white men to make sure that they had light skin. That's my great-great-grandmother. So if you were to see my great-grandmother, she could have passed for white. Alma, yeah, she could have passed for white. So then, my great-grandfather on that side, I'm not even talking about on my father's side, I'm dealing with my mother's side now. See, we don't talk about stuff like this. It's a little too deep now. It's a little too deep. You get to talk about this colorism stuff. It's a little too deep. But if you got the core essence of the matriarchs and patriarchs of the family hate themselves, then what's that going to pass down to the children? Now, we never talked about colorism when we were children. We just dealt with it. I even watched it with my mother and my aunt. My mother, she's very fair-skinned. My aunt, she's darker complexion. But my mother, she was always called the pretty one. But no, nothing about my aunt. Never heard anything. Never heard nobody. But it was, oh yeah, Cynthia. Oh yeah, all the men come after Cynthia. Red bone, Cynthia was saying red. Oh, that's the mentality. But we couldn't talk about that stuff. I just saw it as a child. I remember this one young lady. I was 11 years old, and we would get on the school bus, and she was dark complexion. Gorgeous. And I'm not saying she's cute to be dark skinned. No, she was just flat out gorgeous. I could see this at 11 years old. She was gorgeous in the face and she was gorgeous other places too. So the dudes, the guys, she would get on the bus. And the minute you get on the bus, first thing you hear, oh yeah, your neck so black, such and such. Oh man, what you gonna do? When you don't get that perm, you need to go perm them naps in your head. You mess up. And this is what she would deal with day after day after day after getting on the school bus. And what do you think? An 11-year-old girl who's already showing signs of I mean, she was 11. I was 11, she was 11. Men are men, y'all. She was already showing signs of promise at 11. What do you think that did to her growing up as a woman? I have seen in my lifetime, I have seen that when people have gone through that, I've seen the effect. It's affected how they saw themselves. You would see them go through all these different, so not everybody went through this, but I've seen it with skin bleaching, doing everything to alter themselves. And that was the culture. Where do you think that came from, y'all? People weren't going through that stuff when you go to the continent before the European came in and said, your way of doing things is wrong. We're going to use black and white against you. They weren't thinking about black and white. That's why many people on the continent now aren't even there like black. I'm not black. I'm whatever ethnic group I'm from. I'm not black. That's why when I did the interview with Walter Maya, he was like, he didn't realize he was quote unquote black until he went to, I think he said China. Then he figured out, oh, you see me as black. Oh, okay. We don't even realize that as much as we've been given identities from the inception. So even when we call ourselves black, that's why when people are like, no, I'm black, I ain't African. That's the white man gave you that name too, I just want you to know, I know you trying to make a point here, but the white man gave you that name too, because when they didn't even identify as black. And so that was something that they did in order to keep division, keep people fighting. And it works even today. Because when you're out here, I use black and white and African-American interchangeably just so y'all know what I'm talking about. But as far as how I'm thinking about it, I don't even, because I understand that all of it was given by someone else and imposed and said, this is what you're going to be identified with. And so when we, again, until we begin to understand the root of this stuff, I can't expect that old white South African man to change. I have to change. I have to be the one. I have to be the one to do my own internal due diligence and to care enough for myself so that when my time comes, I didn't leave this earth like totally ignorant. There's going to be certain things I'm going to be 100% ignorant about, but totally ignorant. Questions that I had, I'm not afraid to ask questions publicly. I'm not afraid of the backlash. I don't care if Black Twitter come. I don't care about none of that stuff. None of that, because half of that stuff, when you really get to the core of it and you start asking people questions and say, now why do you believe what you believe? And they'll come back with something. None of that means anything to me. None of those people pay my bills. None of those people do anything. None of that stuff means jack. And so that's why when you get enough people who say, I don't care what you have to say, what you feel, what all of that. But see, if you, as a child, if you've been broken down because you get on a school bus and they come along and they tell you, you call you black this, you nappy head this, you ugly this, and, oh, you cute to be dark skinned, or it's three light skinned girls, and then you the only dark skinned girl, and everybody trying to holler at the light skinned girls. Now I know it reverses too. Now I know I know that there's people get picked on because they're light skinned, they're not black enough. They call them white boy. They call us that and the other. I had one dude. I did this interview with it was Wally and Ron. And Wally was talking about how brothers don't want to come to Africa because they don't want to. They want to go down to South America, not so much the black South America, brown South America, melanated South America. They want to go to the South America that's more white because guess what? That's their minds. I had a brother come to Africa. He was like, man, I'm looking around where the red bones at, man. Where the pretty ones at? I was like, you're something wrong with your mind because if you can't see all of what Africa got to offer that has melanin, and all you looking for is one particular kind. Now I understand everybody have their preferences, but then he was complaining about America. America ain't got no opportunity, and America this, that, and the third. And I'm saying, well, until you learn how to value the different variations of your people, then you're just gonna be crying. You're just gonna be wasting yourself. You're just gonna be wasting your time because this is why it takes a mindset shift. And this is why taking the time to do some of the things that you see me doing and traveling and all of that. And it's really sad. Let me tell you how sad it is. Because people will ask me, well, I don't know how you do what you do. How can you do what you do and have a family and all of that? I'm saying the same way them same jokers go out here on them same jackleg missions trips, peddling this colonized BS gospel that they're taking around. You don't go asking them that question because you think they're doing something for the Lord. Well, I'm doing something for my people and whoever those people are. And so I paid my dues, did what I need to do, and this is how it's gonna go down. And so so you hear, it's simple, it's stuff like that that comes out of people's mouths and say, well, dang, if I was out here peddling, I don't think they got one. I don't know. I don't see one in here, but if I was doing that, it'd be, oh, you're doing a great thing. You're doing a great thing. Well, it's like once it clicks, and that goes to talk about how our minds are, how we're all over the place. We just This is what I want to encourage us with, and I'm going to leave it at this. Swirlers Jubilee. I got to look that up. Swirlers Jubilee. Oh God. What I'm encouraging us to do is for all of us to simply understand that the story is deeper than anything they're telling us in Africa or America. They don't want us to know, and many of us don't want us to know. Do you want to know where I get the most hate from? The most hate I get is from African Americans. That's where I get the most hate from. That's where it comes from. The most hate, not from white people. Not from white people. As a matter of fact, I get some of the most support from white people. So, which makes it confusing because it's like, well, dang. They're like, Jay, keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing. I see you. You're teaching me. I'm learning. I got old 70-year-old white men, man, following, man, Jay. No, I'm learning. I'm getting it. I'm understanding. I didn't realize, I didn't know myself. But I'll get it from us in the most sarcastic, the most ignorant, the most backwards, the most gaslit ways. And it's sad. But what it does, it gives me the courage and the strength, gives me the inspiration to keep doing it. Because it's like, then there are other people who are like, nah, but thank you. I'm glad I'm getting this. All right, let me go dig a little bit deeper. Let me go dig a little bit deeper. Let me go find out a few things here and there. Let me go learn something. I didn't know that. Okay, let me go check this out. Let me go figure this out. Let me get a little bit deeper. No, Leslie, no, it's another guy. No, the first guy, that was with the guy. He was like, hey, you're black. Man, I want to take a picture with you. I was like, hey, you're white. I want to take one with you too. That was who that was. So I played the game with him too. So you trying to pimp a picture, I'm going to pimp one too. That's what we gotta be able to learn how to navigate it. And then, you know what, here's the other thing. When you understand the mindset, it gives you an advantage. Because now it's like, okay, like the 75-year-old white South African man was as nice as he could be. At the end of the conversation, this is what he said to me. He said, Jay, he said, I appreciate having intelligent conversations like this. He said, you gave me a lot to think about. I said, all right. I said, I'm glad. I wasn't angry and upset because I understood this man had been taught this stuff under this particular system for 75 years of his life. If he really wasn't about trying to learn something, he would have just shut up and just went on about his business. And I mean, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to share the audio from this conversation because I think people need to hear it. And I hope the people who are sympathizers to this mentality, I'm talking about the African people and the African Americans and Afro, whoever else, that when you think this stuff is gone and over with and you think that it's not a big deal and we just got to move on past it, that's systemic. And when you show up in the room and you're waiting and begging for people to give you opportunities for something that you already have the ability to do on your own, and then they look at you as though, well, here come these lazy Negroes, here come these lazy Africans. So now we're going to treat them like this and talk to them like this. We're going to only allow them these type of opportunities. But if you really understand their system and you learn how to position yourself differently, then when you show up to the table, now it throws them off. They're like, wait a minute, hold on. How did you? Now, of course, they're going to try to hold you back and bomb you and, do all those different things. But hey, sometimes, you know what? Change happens incrementally over time. And so somebody has to continue to fight. If everybody just bows down and quits, then what happens? If everybody just says, you know what, it's no big deal. We just gotta be diplomatic. Oh, we gotta be diplomatic. Oh, we just have to be. We can be diplomatic, but I'm going to have some leverage when I come to the diplomacy table. If I don't have any leverage when I come to the diplomacy table, then you're just gonna keep screwing me. And all I can do is sit there and say, well, Master. Oh, no, not Master. Damn, not Master. Please, can you give me an opportunity? Oh, please, can you help me? Can you help me? Do you want to rescue me? Those are things that you can, when you can learn how to leverage, you can say, all right, we can, you got some resources. I got some resources. You got some resources. Now, some people say, they're going to scam you, somebody will scam you no matter what. All right, I'm not coming to the table where you give me 5%. I'm coming to the table, as a matter of fact, you got $1 million, I got $1 million, so what's up? And as a matter of fact, because we're dealing with capitalists, there's some people out here who don't care whether or not, let's see, There's some people who don't care anything about skin color. They just need the resources. They're about that green. That's what they're about. The color they want is that green. They are capitalists. And so if you have enough people who are strategically positioning themselves, avoiding them student loans, I had to I'm going to throw that in there. Positioning themselves. Now, when you come to the table, you can say, you know, we can open up 5 franchises. Don't get that. We can open up 5 of these franchises. We can open up 10 of these franchises. I had one African lady tell me from Uganda. She said, I normally don't tell Africans or African Americans about these opportunities. I normally go to Europeans for this. I was like, that said to me, I really probably don't want to do business with her. Because, you know, I had to click, you know, that was a trigger. I was like, you know, so we even got to recognize our triggers, you know. I didn't do business with her, but I listened to what she had to say. Now, she is a chocolate Ugandan woman who said to me that she normally does not go to Africans or African Americans for business opportunities. She prefers to go to Europeans. That's real. That's her experience. All right, cool. I get it. And all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. When he was talking about, there's so much we talked about, but when he was talking about the laziness factor and he was talking about that whole piece, I understood what he was saying, but that's because clearly he didn't have enough exposure to other types of people. When he had, it's like, because I've hired people, I've worked with staffs, I knew what he was talking about. I said, okay. I know what it's like. I know what the customer service is like in certain parts of Africa, where it's like, whoa, I don't know how to. Oof. I even told one in Ghana. I said, whoever masters customer service gonna make millions of dollars. I even one of the restaurants that I go to, the guy's white. He owns the restaurant. I went in, and his staff came over to me. I said, listen. I said, I have a group. And we all want separate checks. So I went to the Ghanaian owned restaurant. The manager comes over. Oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. No. I said, well, yes you can. You know, I was like, yes you can. So we had our moment, and they did it. But I went to the white restaurant. I said to the Ghanaian manager, I said, look, I got a group. I said, we need separate checks. At first she comes back, she says, no, we can't do it. I said, please go talk to so-and-so, it can happen. She went to go talk to the owner, it happened. Every time we walk in the door, separate checks, no problem. First couple times we went, took them a long time to get the food. They got it worked out. Now, to the credit of another Ghanaian place that I'd stopped going to, but we worked it out. It would take them an hour and a half to get the food. I said, I know y'all cooked the order, so I already told everybody it might take 35 minutes to get the food, 40 minutes, or whatever. I said, but an hour and a half, it's not packed out. What y'all doing back there? What's going on? So I stopped taking my folks to that place. I said, we're not going. They figured out that we stopped coming. So another opportunity came for them to get this thing right. I said, I'll try this one more time. I said, because I want to bring my money locally. I want to. I said, but I'm not going to pay for poor service. I'm not going to do it. So they got that thing right. They turned it. I said, look, we need the food within 30 minutes. Can you do it? Yep, we can do it. All right, cool. 30 minutes, you got it. The timer's on. Set it. Let's roll. We're going to rock this thing out. They got it done. I mean, it was that simple. I said, whoever masters customer service. So when the 75-year-old white South African man was talking about some of this stuff, the mindset that he was talking about, I said, some of what he's saying is real. Some of what he's saying is true. I said, at my summer camp, I said, I watch one girl. We have a no cell phone policy. Staff member, she's sitting over there on the phone. Still want to get a check, though. I said that. But then I had the other staff people, another staff person who went, they would work hard. They would do what they needed to do. They got it done. So monolithic thinking, not putting everybody in the same batch is going to be the key for him to understand that everybody's not the same. And you will get some of that laziness and you'll get some of these other things going on. But the more we talk about it, the more we train, the more we do this, the more they have examples of showing people who can do it and who can stand on their own economically and who can stand on their own or have strategic partnerships or bring some sort of leverage to the table and not sell out the people. That I think that key right there is when we see melanated people not sell out the other melanated person on either continent, any continent, South America, all that stuff. When we can get to that place, it will empower and embolden other people to say, you know what? I'm gonna make sure, first of all, we're gonna set a standard for customer service and professionalism. And if someone can't come in here and have that, then all right, then we can't work because we're in the system as it is right now. We can't change this. This is the system that we're in. However, what we need to do is to learn how to play in the system the same way. This is the part where the Chinese part comes in that made a little bit of sense. We need to learn how to play in the system the way the Chinese play because the Chinese dominate the system. Not that we become Chinese, not that we're any less than them. This is a game of chess. This is a game of Monopoly. This is a game. And so what do the Chinese do? The Chinese have advertisements in China about investing in Africa. They have delegations of people on buses riding around trying to figure out how they're going to build skyscrapers. We sitting around on our behinds scared to visit. They got they got Air China. Well, they don't come on Air China, but they come on whatever them planes. And they say, wow, okay, so what are y'all doing over here in Accra? What are y'all doing in Dakar? What are you doing in Johannesburg? What are you doing in Durban? What are you doing in Nairobi? What are you doing in Dar es Salaam? Well, we want to go see what's happening. And so we're going to go and we're going to pool our money together and we're going to build these structures and we're going to do this. Oh, what are they doing in DC? What are they doing in Atlanta? Oh, they're pooling their money. They're coming in the droves and building and rehabbing these houses. We're scared to go even trying to figure out what's going on. We're still barely trying to pay rent. This is the mentality that they keep us with. We're still going into church and begging for somebody to pay our rent. But we have the capacity to get off of our tail, go out there and make as much money as we want. We could go DoorDash, we can go deliver something, we can go make all the money we want. But we have been trained to go and beg and wait for somebody to give us something. And so until we get rid of that mentality to say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to make this thing happen, that is when things are going to change. When people see it, when our children see it modeled in front of them, when they say, well, wait a minute, oh, that brother, oh, okay, he didn't have to deal drugs, he didn't have to go steal and rob from somebody, he actually could go build a business. Man, all right, I'm feeling that. We need to tell our stories. We need to stop being quiet. We need to stop being fake humble. And man, I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't want y'all to know because I'm trying to, and all these accomplishments, all of this wisdom and knowledge that we have, we should be writing books. There are other people out there who should have YouTube channels telling their story and not just keeping it to themselves. You could do ebooks, you could do audio books, you could do courses, you could do all kinds of things. But we're sitting around holding on to this information because I don't know. I'm just going to be humble because the Lord told me not to let my own lips praise myself. Let the praise come from somebody else and all of this other kind of stuff. And the people need the knowledge. Some of the wisest people in our communities are people that are silent. And they take all of that wisdom to their graves. But the Chinese don't care. Chinese come in, hey, little young child, what we're going to do, we're going to teach you the ways that we do it. Little so-and-so, we're going to do this. Coming from the Netherlands or whatever, little, I don't know what the names are, coming from Britain, little William Charles, whatever, we're going to teach you these things. And so until we recognize what we bring to the table and stand on that thing, unapologetically standing on it. And so you can say whatever you want, you can try to push it down, you can try to do everything, you can do all of them different things. So I'm going to keep teaching, I'm going to keep sharing, I'm going to keep traveling, I'm going to keep showing pictures, I'm going to show you this side and this side. Because if I don't do it, who's going to do it? If I don't stand up and say something, who's going to do it? Where's it going to come from? What? I'm going to wait for Who's gonna do it? For the people I'm supposed to reach, for the people you're supposed to reach. Why are we so afraid? And so when I hear that 75-year-old white man talk, it gave me inspiration. I said, well, he needs the education. But he gave me an education too, because I know how he thinks. I know how you think. Yeah, y'all hit the like button, man. Y'all know I'm just here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying in the chat. Y'all pump that thing up. Share it and subscribe and all of that. Get the word out. Y'all know what to do. Because as people begin to take responsibility, the change will happen and you won't even see it. You'll just hear young people start saying, yeah, I think I'm gonna do things a little differently. I'm working on documentaries. I'm working on all of this is not, in vain. That's why I have children's books coming out and all of that. And I'm working, as fast as someone can work and gathering the information. There's a lot, it's a lot of traveling. I am ready to get back to the DMV. I will say that. I am ready to get back home. And when I say home, meaning I'm home in Africa, but America's still home too. I had to admit to myself, America's still home too. That's where I was born. That's my culture, my family, everybody's there. It's not the system. The system is not what it is. That's my people are there. So, and there's nothing wrong with having people on both sides. That's what they did to us. What they did to us shows up in my DNA. I see it. I know exactly what I am, where I am, all that good stuff. But I hope that what will happen is that we stop gaslighting ourselves and asking the tough questions and holding our institutions accountable to say there's no reason why there's a church on every corner and we're still struggling financially in our communities. And there's a church in every village and we're still struggling. We don't have hospitals and schools. Well, the government, well, some of these churches, I'm telling you, some of the money that comes in, or all these churches with the big, what's talking about they got this, that, and the other, then they should come over to Africa since Africa's so pitiful and needs saving. They should come build a hospital without any religious conversion involved with it. Just build a hospital and put it up there and let it go. Don't have any strings attached to it. Just build it and let it serve the community and the needs of the people. And the fruit falling from the tree will speak for itself, and the people will be able to see. But something's wrong. Something's wrong when they are building a Catholic cathedral. A Catholic cathedral in downtown Accra. It's costing tens of millions of dollars when they could put up a hospital for the same amount. They could build a school. They could do all kinds of things. Something wrong. And that's when you know who's really in control. You can't even blame the president for that. You can't even, you know who's in control. But yet we run right up on those institutions, the same institutions of oppression, without question. But a lot of us don't know. That's why a lot of us don't know. A lot of us don't know. And so that's the deal. All right, everybody. Look, y'all keep getting the likes up. Get the likes up. Click the share button. I'm glad. I don't know what everybody been saying in the comments, but it looked like y'all been chopping it up. Well, that's good. Let's have some conversations. We all have different experiences, and we all have all of these different. Let me say this. This is what I say. All you gotta do is go to Nigeria. You don't need a DNA test. So that's what I tell them folks over there in America who think they, from the, carry your behind on over there to Nigeria, and you won't, either you just crazy at that point, and you look around, you don't need a DNA test. And that's the one thing about it. So you can go take a DNA test. You can go, and this is what I say. This is what I say about it. And this is why you don't allow people to gaslight you, because you're gonna get simpletons who gonna try to gaslight you. I'm probably the biggest skeptic of them all, because first of all, I'm definitely not gonna trust no jackleg. I've been around enough jacklegs with theories, churches, politicians, and foolery. So I like to try to disprove it all. I like to because I ain't scared of it. See, that's the thing. The people, like the people who are on the DNA tell, Lord, uh, go take one and see what it show you. See, the reason why they won't do it is because they're scared. Half the time they're scared because they don't want to find out that they've been wrong. I just want the truth. So what I do, I go and say, well, let me go take the test and see. I'm gonna go check this out. What's a jack leg? Jive turkey. Jack leg, jive turkey, or whatever. We could go down a whole bunch of deals. So I saw the little dude who's going around telling everybody that the DNA tests are fake and all that kind of stuff. I said, well, I want to go find out if it's fake. I need to find out because, Lord, if it's fake, I need to go find out if it's fake. So I did all of them. I did Ancestry, I did 23andMe, I did My Heritage, and I did African Ancestry. And I said, okay, we're gonna see if this thing is real. And then on top of that, I did my genealogy. So I know enough about my family history. And before I did any of the tests, I did my genealogy. I went back as far as I could go with the census and the information and everything that was put in front of me. I said, all right, I knew the names, I knew enough far back. So I had that in front of me before I took a test. I said, all right, we're gonna find out if there's some mess right here. Took the test. So when I took the test, I said, wait a minute. There were relatives of mine that I know are my relatives, but Ancestry doesn't know that they're my relatives. 23andMe didn't know they were my relatives, but the test confirmed they were my relatives. They confirmed they were my relatives based upon the information I already knew. So I was like, oh, okay, now this is getting interesting. So then all of these cousins started popping up on my father's side of the family. And we all linked to this one lady named Effie Bond. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm not skeptical because I know at this point these cousins and all that kind of stuff that it linked into this. So at that point, I look and we all start tracing the facts. We go to the genealogy and then we look at the DNA. I said, well, if this is a fraud, then they're real good with it. They real good with it. They did about the best fraud that's out there. So then you go through the whole thing and I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, I do African Ancestry and the link on my mother's side goes back to Sierra Leone. Oh, my mother's line. I'm born in Charleston, South Carolina. The direct trade route was coming from Sierra Leone to Charleston, South Carolina. African Ancestry doesn't know that. African Ancestry has no clue. They know nothing about, they don't know anything about me, where I come from, nothing. All they know is whatever they input into their system. I'm saying, well, okay. Now we got all of these connections that are supporting what I'm finding out in the genealogy. Now I have a choice. I can gaslight myself like so many people do. And that's not what I see. What I see is what I'm telling myself in my mind. Instead of saying, well, these cousins of mine I grew up with, the people I know, these are my relatives, and it's definitely saying that it's lining up correctly with what my DNA is. And I'm only speaking for me. I can only speak for me. And that's what it is. So it was enough connection between what I had studied from my genealogy. It lined up with the DNA. It lined up historically. And I would be a fool to ignore all of that because some little dude on the internet talking about some company is for profit and he for profit too. So I look at that and I say to myself, So this is why I say you got to do your own due diligence. Then I took it a step further. I got my behind up off the American plantation. I got my behind off the American plantation and I went to go see for myself. And so once you go, that's what I say, just go to Nigeria and you'll see for yourself. And um, as you go, oh, then we probably, evil, oh, there you go. Okay, Hawker Facts, all right. So once you go, there are things that people can't, that's why I say, when people talk all that talk, man, I said, they still sitting on the American plantation talking. They scared to put their money up. They not because what they're afraid of is finding out that what they don't want to believe is actually true. And so my thing is, hey, I have no problem finding out, even after all of this, all of my travels, I have no problem finding out that if all of it was wrong, I have no problem with that because I want the truth. And I have enough sense. That's what I'm saying. I have enough sense to be able to continue digging, 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 digging. I might not get all of everything that I ever wonder in life as far as answers answered. But the one thing is that nobody can take what I've seen. And most people will be afraid to go put their money up because they'd rather just sit there and read a couple books and say, so and so told me, and Dr. So and so said, and so and so said, and so and so said. That's why I like to be able to show videos so people can actually see it and see it in real time or as much as real time as possible. But for me, I'm very confident in what my particular DNA story has been. As far as, you know, it has given me enough to satisfy what I already knew. Again, most people won't go to the expense of what I've gone. I've spent enough money for more than what people have spent on some of these degrees to be able to get a lot of these answers. And that's why we will put all of this together. Do I wonder whether or not do I wonder whether or not there were Africans in America before chattel slavery? I firmly believe that they were in the Americas, meaning South America, Central America, Haiti, up into America. I firmly believe it. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when I went to, Egypt was a part of it. But when I went to Egypt and I saw the hieroglyphics. Now, the way the Europeans have you thinking is that Christopher Columbus and Magellan and all of them were the first great explorers who traveled the world. They won't even talk about the Moors. They won't even do all of that. They go through all of that whole thing. They will always put their people as superior. Italian, Christopher Columbus, and all of that kind of stuff. But then I go to Egypt, and this is why traveling is so important, because those engraved hieroglyphics on the wall, engraved, showed in such detail people on boats with fishing hooks, with details of the fish, details of the hippopotamus, details of the crocodiles, details of what they were doing thousands of years before Christopher Columbus. I know, right? Christopher Columbus, that crazy nut terrorist. Before that, you had this in these walls. You see the architecture in these walls. Now, I'm just saying what's left over. I firmly believe that there were people who were already in the Americas building these things, and what we know is the Americas building these things. But of course, in the way the European would steal ideas and steal it and give itself credit for it, I'm saying I don't doubt, and especially the fact that people could build. I mean, think about who's building this stuff. The Africans are building it. So I don't doubt for 1 second that there were people who made it across that ocean and settled in the Americas. But not just that, I firmly believe that there were indigenous people with melanin in their skin. If you look at South America and you look at the temperature and the climate, it's not much different than Africa. So why wouldn't there be people with melanin in their skin already indigenous to South America? North America, just because of the climate and all of that, getting up into New England and stuff, it's a little chilly up there a lot of times. But definitely you could see where they would be on the seacoast islands along South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So I'm just saying, I believe that there were people who were already here. So I don't question that part of it so much. But as far as the slave trade never happening and the people not coming over and all that kind of stuff, all you gotta do is go to Nigeria. You don't need to take one DNA test. How about that? You scared of DNA test? Go to Nigeria. you, you be good. You be straight at that point. All you gotta do is go hang out in Nigeria. How they flow, they vibe, the whole nine. And I'm not saying Nigeria is better than. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that for the African Americans, just go hang out in Nigeria. Don't be scared of Lagos. Just go hang out. Just don't go anywhere, everywhere in Lagos. But just go hang out in Lagos for a little while. You see, they flow just like, when I say this, meaning they got their own vibe and their own cultures and all that good stuff. But I felt very, very familiar in Nigeria. I mean, just from the whole flow, I felt very familiar, and that's the reality of it. There's a strong Afro-Brazilian community in Nigeria. Strong Afro-Brazilian. So this is the other part of it is those people aren't even thinking about this stuff here in America. I mean, I'm not in America. I'm in South Africa now. But then the people in Brazil are not even thinking about the stuff going on in America. They got a strong Afro-Brazilian community in Nigeria. They have a strong Afro-Brazilian community in Ghana. Only way I know that is if I'm in those places. Angola, strong Afro-Brazilian. You go around to Mozambique, and you go and look and see all those African people speaking Portuguese, and it's almost like Brazil. So I'm just trying to help y'all understand to dig deeper. Don't just don't take my word for it. My thing is this: take all the tests. Somebody, man, they're gonna get your DNA and they're gonna clone you. Look, if they want to do that to themselves, they ain't nothing I can do. First of all, when you go to the doctor and you pee and you give them blood, they got your DNA. That's the reality. You pee and you give them your blood sample, they got your DNA. So you worry about some spit, and they already got your stuff every time you pee. That's why I don't go to the doctor, because they're going to give us stuff. And that's why now you got stuff growing inside you don't know growing inside you, because you don't want to go to the doctor, because you worry about somebody. I mean, if they want to get what they want to get from you, they're going to get what they want to get from you. I mean, you'll be getting your spit off your thing. Well, get all them McDonald's, all them Big Macs you eat and stuff, and then off the little straws. They find ways to do whatever they want to do. And so we all have a limited amount of time. That's right, they'll get it out your umbilical cord. You thinking, man, I ain't gonna get a man my stuff. They already got your stuff. Matter of fact, see, all them condoms you done threw away out there. You thought you were getting away with something. They little nasty people in the trash can and picked up your stuff. So all right, so y'all got me going crazy. So anyway, to each his own. Do it how you do it, and all I'm saying is, hey, you can read a book or two or whatever. I'm just saying, get on a plane and go see. That's all. Get on a plane and go see. And oh yeah, there you go. The placentas and all that, man. These people. Once you understand how their mind works. And I'm gonna tell you like this, because many of us from America, many African American, Black American, because we have so much of that DNA in us too, because we got that mix going on with us, a lot of times we have to be careful not to pick up that mentality just because of the innate aspect of it. So we can pick up. I have to really catch myself with that stuff too, because of how it's come down through the line. I gotta really be checking my, because I see things and I say, oh, that's my colonized mind thinking. Because I'll see something and somebody doing something, like, I have to be conscious of it. And many of us who are quote unquote, raised in that system or have those genetics in us, we gotta really be mindful of it. But anyway, all right, I have talked a long time tonight, but it's all good. Get them likes up, get them shares up. Let's do what we gotta do. I'm trying to get to 20,000 by July 1st, because and see, for me, like, a lot of people do social media because they want to be popular, and I don't care about being popular. I've outgrown that. I was in high school, I was voted most popular. I was homecoming king, I was prom king, I was all that stuff. That's 30 years ago. I don't even care about that. I just want people to get information and be able to think about things they might not have thought about before, or maybe they have thought about it and they might have thought they were like crazy for thinking it, just knowing that other people out here thinking like this. That's why it's up to us to take these links and share. Thanks for the super chats. I see the super chats out there. I appreciate the super chats. Just know we're going to be, because the documentaries, I got a documentary I'm doing in Tanzania in July. Of course, I got to do the Ghana documentary, working on so many different things, about to release some more videos that are coming out here in South Africa now, hanging out with my friends, Mark and Latasha Blanton from the Real South Africa. So they've been taking great care of me. Just their whole setup is representing Black excellence. I hang around people and companies who represent that. And that's what the deal is. Yeah, when I'm being on a dance. and so this is how we do it. And so I'm going to try to go live as much as possible, and continue to bring this content and share it as much as I can, and that's the deal. I tell you, when you go to these places, if it shows up in your DNA, go to the places and visit. Go visit. I'm going to Cameroon. My next, after Cameroon, Gabon, and Angola are going to be next on my list, because Cameroon Mafa people showed up. That showed up on my African ancestry. I'm Sierra Leone Timine on one side. And so I want to go to Cameroon and see what's going on. I want to, I'm always surprised. I got to get back to the Gambia and interview a lot of people in the Gambia. And any place I go, if we got folks in Joburg, I'd love to talk to you. If you're in Cape Town, I'd love to talk to you. Wherever you are, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to be able to connect. And I love to talk to people, whether you're a business owner. Like last night, I was just randomly out hanging out with Mark Blanton and there's two sisters that he knows here. And we just did a random interview right there on the spot. Both of them here from South Africa. And I thought it was cool. I got other interviews coming from South Africa. And I got interviews I'm going to share from different, I'm just thinking about some different places. Got interviews from all over, coming down the pike. So anyway, that's all I got for right now. I know it's quite a bit, but just know this much. I gave that 75-year-old white South African man something to think about. And I can't wait to share the audio with you so you can hear it in his words. And we'll be able to talk about it even more. So anyway, make sure, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Get the, hey, if we could coordinate this, I'm down with interviewing anybody, even people who don't agree with me. I'll bring my man on who peddling the stuff out there to the people to tell them they're not from Africa and stuff. I just ask them questions. I'm a slow walker, joker down, so he might, hey, whatever it is. I'm down to talk. I'm not into like combativeness with people, but I'm definitely not into foolishness. So I'm not, again, I'm not here to be popular. I'm not. However this channel grows, it'll grow organically, and it'll be what it's going to be. But I want people to at least start thinking and not gaslighting themselves and asking questions and being able to stand up to systems that don't want people to ask questions. That's what I'm saying. So let's ask questions. Let's keep doing what we need to do. Don't forget to hit that share button. Until next time, take care. Be safe. More from South Africa. I'm in Cape Town right now. I'm going to share, now the next video I'm going to share is a bougie video. I ain't just going to let y'all know. It's going to be one of them bougie ones. This is a bougie video. So it's a really cool restaurant with an African theme to it, but it's a little bougie. Just want to let you know that. But it's coming. So check me out on IG at JCameronOfficial. And of course, like, subscribe, share. Y'all take care.